Hey guys, I'm going to show you how I installed some Oxford grip heaters on my 2014 Super Tenere. The ones I'm installing are the Oxford Adventure grip heaters, and I was a little afraid that they weren't going to fit, but if you look on here, there's a Super Tenere there, there's a Super Tenere there, and on the top of the box as well, so that's cool. If you measure your stock grips, they're about 5¼ inches. And I did not have to trim these at all. They fit perfect. They're almost the same size. They might be just a tad bit shorter than the stock grips, but you will not have to trim these grips. They fit perfect. Now if you look at the instructions, it'll show you this arrow. And when you install them, they tell you to install them with the arrow pointed down. But with that, it made the wire come around the back and it was kind of awkward. If you've got a newer Super Tenere, it's kind of got this bulbous on the bottom of your throttle, and this is where, if you had OEM grip heaters, this is where the wire would be, and if you feel on the back, there's a rubber plug where the wires would come out. This kind of interferes with the wire coming down, so I didn't really like that. So I'd seen where some people were mounting it forward, and it works much better. There's nothing in the way, and I routed the wires down and it works pretty smoothly. I did the same thing on this side where I ran it with the arrow forward. And if you have ever seen old Scott grips, the waffle part of the grips is usually in the front and the back of the grip's usually smooth, and I thought it was weird by putting the arrow down it put the waffle part on the bottom, which I thought was kind of strange. So I just elected to do it this way, mostly because running the wire on the throttle this way was less intrusive, staying away from this kind of bulbous area here. You'll need an Allen key to take this off, and these just turn about half a turn. Just pop. So you take this off. And this is where I just kind of stuffed the relay up in here, and here's some of the wiring harness. So what I did is I took the wiring harness that came with the Oxford and wired it up to the relay. I have my own fuse here, and to trigger the relay, there's another plug back here, and what you want to do is you want to tap to the brown wire, and when you turn the ignition on and off, this is what's going to trigger the relay to turn the power on and off to the grips. And there's a spot right up here. If you take this piece off, you'll see there's a bunch of relays mounted here. There's actually another open spot right here to mount stuff, but I'm either gonna, when I put more accessories on this bike, I'm gonna either utilize that area for a fuse box or utilize this little spot for a fuse box. So for right now, I'm just putting the relay up in here. And when you install a relay, you can look up the wiring diagram, but basically one wire is power from your battery, one wire is power back out. This is what's switched. This is a ground, and then the white wire is, I have it soldered into this green wire, but this is what triggers it. So when you turn the key on, this powers the relay and closes the switch between these two wires, which then powers the heated grips. And this is what's going to ensure me from, draining the battery. I'm sure the Oxford, it's pretty smart and I wouldn't have a problem with the battery going dead, but in this case I just do not want to have any problem with the battery going dead, so I decided to go with the relay. And later on, like I said, I'm going to use the relay to power another fuse box to power my GPS and such. If you have a 2014 or newer Tenere, if you pull this plug back, these are the plugs for the stock grip heaters. And I've heard, I have not verified this, but you could cut the ends off of the Oxfords and run them off here. and apparently the brain on your motorcycle will know, and you'll be able to use the OEM built-in grip heaters. I tested the resistance of these, and they're 7.5 ohms, and I'd read online that the stock grip heaters for Yamaha are 1.5 ohms, and I didn't want to chance it, so I just elected to use the stock grip heater controller, and it works really well. One of the biggest problem I had installing these was trying to get these bar ends off, which I thought was going to be pretty easy. But if you look right here, there's a 12mm hex, and is it going to focus? This is a 12mm hex. So to try to get this off, I didn't have a 12mm hex, so I found a 12mm bolt and I double nutted the end, and I thought that I could take the bolt because it fits in here, and I thought I'd be able to get this off, but I have these nuts so tight, and these bar ends were on so tight that this trick did not work. So I ended up having to go to Harbor Freight and buy this set of Allen head hex heads, and this is the 12mm. The set that I had only went to 10. But keep in mind, if you go and buy these last three, the big ones, are 1/2 inch drive. So if you only have a little ratchet, the 3/8, keep in mind if you buy this set, you may need to get the ratchet as well to get this 12mm hex, to get those bar ends off. To install the controller, the bracket, it's kind of long right here, so I cut it off and I drilled into the hole right here, and I spray painted it black to keep it from rusting. And what's cool is this kit comes with some hardware, and I used one of the spacers. So I pulled out the stock bolt, which was a hex head like this. I pulled out the stock bolt, grabbed one of their longer ones, used that 8mm, put in the spacer, and tightened it down, and I just ran all the wires through the stock loom down inside. And that's about all there is to it, guys. It was a pretty easy install. I would say it probably only took me about, even with wiring up the relay and everything, I think it still only took me for about 45 minutes to install. Gluing the grips on, pretty straightforward if you've ever replaced grips. It does come with super glue. It wasn't grip glue, it was actually super glue, which is kind of strange. Most of the grips I've ever installed, it came with it's kind of like a rubber cement, and so that was it's kind of messy. Other than that, straightforward install. Very recommended. They're great. Keep your hands warm. Excellent. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.